Mario is Cruton, but what's new? He showed up on campus, and that's what he's been doing now for a year. All right. Two big commits for the Canes here in the last few days. We will talk them up here on the Voice of College Football, your Miami edition, here with Cam Underwood from State of the U. Cam, how's it going?
Going well. Can't complain. Just ready to get into it, and we got plenty to get into. So yeah.
It goes well when you've got a name that just reeks of a number of various nicknames that can apply, and especially when the particular player plays a position that's coming off the edge. So we know what that means. That means speed, burst, explosion, and then he just committed to Miami, the Hurricanes. One Reuben Bain,
nicknamed Hurricane S. And this is a guy who, in the comments, so welcome to everybody who's watching. In the comments, y'all asked me about him a while ago, right? Because Auburn was trying to push, he had already taken the previous official visit to Alabama. Florida State was trying to push. And like 6 weeks ago, I told y'all I would believe that Reuben Hurricane Bain, that's his nickname, like from, the hood, right? That I was going to believe that he would play somewhere else when I saw him literally cross the sideline during a game wearing another team's jersey. Because I was that sure that he was going to come to Miami, after, taking his time with this process and everything, but like he was never going to go anywhere else. I was loud, and I just told, Mark before we came on live, I was loud and right then. Give me my props now. And I know I wasn't the only one, so I'm not saying it was only me. However, y'all are watching me right here on Wednesday. So yeah, I said that clearly. He's not going to go anywhere else. Reuben Bain called Cristobal on Sunday, either on the way home from his visit to Florida State or immediately when he got home to his house on Sunday, right? He committed at the Nat Moore Foundation Awards ceremony last night. He did it on stage in front of all kinds of people and whatnot. And being interviewed afterwards, he was like, I think it was David Wilson from the Miami Herald who had that little nugget. But he was like, yeah, I called Cristobal on Sunday and he was in the private jet doing recruiting, and he threw his phone across the jet and everything. And when, because they FaceTime for all those things. So he was kind of there. He was celebrating, coach had to go over and get the phone back and But I mean, leaving out from a visit elsewhere. And Florida State, I know that I saw people trying to spin, oh, he wasn't a take because, we had other guys ahead of him. And You're a liar and you sound stupid. So don't say stupid stuff.
Too many guys ahead of him.
Right, but they're saying on their board and we're only trying to protect for this one guy flipping or You're a liar and you sound dumb if you try to spin that. But they were all super hyped. Yeah, we got him on campus. They the whole thing. On Sunday, it was Friday when he got there. Mike Norvell. All of their recruiting writers and everything. And it's funny that they want to take shots at other people for being fans who do that full time. Because I'm a blogger, so I mean, I try to be objective, but I'm a fan because I went there and I have my degree. But they take shots at other people, but they're some of the biggest fanboys around, the FSU writers for a variety of sites. But yeah, so oh yeah, Hurricane Bain, yeah, he's here and he's going Oh yeah, we're going to take that. We're going down to Miami Central again. We're taking one of y'all legacy players. And then he commits, and then it's, man, he wasn't that good. And right, sure, believe that if you want to. If it helps you sleep at night, buddy, go right ahead. Exactly. In this current year, you see it on the screen: 52 tackles, 37 tackles for loss, 28 sacks. And the numbers were very similar last year. If I have his page in front of me, last year was 60 tackles, 48.5 tackles for loss, 29.5 sacks with 3 forced fumbles in 2021. This is an elite player any way that you slice it. And like I said, he was going to come to Miami, and now he's committed to Miami. He's going to sign with Miami next week. So, yeah, Mark's been trying to say early signing day was next week for the last few weeks. It is actually next week from now. But yeah, so Reuben Bain is a Miami legacy. In case you did not know, his brother Reggie played here. His brother Reggie is on the support staff of the football program currently. And his uncle Tolbert Bain was in the U documentary because he played at the U and he had that low, gravelly voice. And yeah, he was a standout defensive back here previously. So yeah, multiple family members have played here. He was never going anywhere but here, and it's a big get, obviously. I saw Gabby Arrudia tweeted that it would be a massive win in the recruiting world to get him. And then, of course, FSU writers, multiple, tried to denigrate that. Oh, it's a big deal to keep a guy home and da-da-da-da. Yes. Have you followed? Like, apparently these guys who talk all this shit about Miami recruiting are new to the world of recruiting because we've talked about missing on players for years and years and years from local players, right? Dalvin Cook, where'd he go? Miami Central, right? Patrick Peterson, Blanche Ely was committed to Miami, didn't end up going to Miami. All of the million dudes from American Heritage who went elsewhere, all of the receivers from any school that went to Alabama. The list is long and distinguished of players from Miami who did not go to Miami. So I'm not going to sit here and say getting a player of this caliber to stay home, regardless of family connection or not, I'm not going to sit here and downplay that. And they can do that and try to spin that shit if they want to, but they can go sell that somewhere else because I have a brain that works, right? So this is a really big get. He is currently the third highest rated player behind 2 5-stars, that being Cormani McClain and Francis Mauigoa in this class, and is not the only 4-star player that we got a commitment from this week, or in the last bit since I was back here with you guys. But no, this is a really, really big get. He can play inside, he can play outside. I'm actually crafting his recruiting notebook right now because it was not on my list because I was waiting until he committed. But literally, I have it right here on my screen that I'm working on that. But you should be very excited that Reuben Bain is going to live up to his nickname and be a Hurricane. And it's not going to take long for him to hit the field. Trust me.
So as soon as you said Dalvin Cook was a product of Central High School as well, that preempted the next question I was going to ask, because I'll follow up on these commits regardless of the channel that we produce, just to look, okay, what's the level of commit here? And then I will go to Max Preps and I'll look up the high school statistics. And we know level of play has so much to do with that. If they're a top level recruit, sometimes they may play defensive back and nobody throws the ball their way. So there's not much production, for example. So the high school statistics have to be, considered within context. And then I see these statistics and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. This is a guy who had 2.5 sacks and 4 tackles for loss against IMG Academy. Like this current year. You know what I mean? And those numbers are massive. Sure, he's not having as many tackles, but they have dogs all over that defense. And look, last year they had Wesley Besainth playing on the level behind him, right? At that second level at linebacker. And he was a guy, if you extend that back, as a 4-star linebacker, most everybody said he's better, Wesley Besainth, than the previous year before him. Terrence Lewis was a 5-star linebacker playing on the same defense, and everybody said he's a 5-star in 21. This 4-star linebacker next to him, wearing number 17 in 22, he's actually the better of the linebackers. And for the 2 years that Hurricane Bain has been doing these numbers, he's playing in front of those kind of guys, right? Miami Central they've turned themselves into an incredible program. They're going for their 4th or 5th straight state championship, 5 out of 6 or something, which is crazy because when Miramar won their championship in 2009, they beat Miami Central in the state semifinals, and Miami Central to that point had not won a state championship in their history. So they were the redheaded stepchild because Northwestern had won states, Edison, back in the day had won states, Booker T. Washington with Ice Harris, they were a powerhouse, but Central, they were the team that had not gotten across that threshold, and now they're not only across that threshold, they are leading the pack. So yeah, when you can get guys and trust and believe, there are other guys going to Power 5 schools on that defense and from that team currently, and in next year, and the year after, and the year after, and the year after. This is a program that you should definitely know, and if Miami is doing what they need to do, you should be getting more, the lion's share of the blue chip talents from that program should end up as being Hurricanes. So yeah, this is a big one. And this is definitely a legacy program. So this is a big get on every single front.
The other big commit in the first time thought that went through my mind when I saw this name was, NFL fans, you'll remember one of the fastest players ever to show up at the combine who owned the record for a 40 time. It was, of course, Chris Johnson, who then started for the Tennessee Titans and ran for 2,000 yards in one season. Christopher Johnson out of Fort
CJ2K,
Lauderdale.
yeah, exactly. So this Christopher Johnson, he plays at Fort Lauderdale Dillard High School. That is another local powerhouse program that you need to know. So Jonathan Ford went there. Stephon Zayas, who went to Central Florida as a defensive end. Jordan Wright, who was at Kentucky, went there. Oh my God, there's somebody right now. Who's the freshman? Nigel Kelly went there. Armando Blunt is a 5-star prospect along the defensive line in 2025. There's more talent than a little bit at Dillard. And you had Anton Jackson, who was a 2024 commit, who's reclassified up into this current class at this year as 2023. And then his teammate on defense, Anton Jackson plays defensive back, if you didn't know. Christopher Johnson, yeah, he's a running back, and he is another player on offense, on the offensive recruiting class with elite speed. Elite speed. Go watch his highlights. This is a kid who outruns angles. So like, oh, you're doing the pursuit thing. So like, oh, if you're going here and I'm going to like cut you off at the pass, and that cut off at the pass is looking at the back of his jersey because he has that kind of speed. The reigning 100 meter and 200 meter state champion in his classification of Florida track. I think it's 3A. But whichever classification it is, he is the current double gold medal holding champion in terms of speed on the track. And that speed translates onto the field. Now, this is probably not a guy who's going to be a 3-down running back. He's probably a 3rd down back with some maybe return and pass catching out of the backfield, maybe in the slot. He's like your Swiss Army knife. I can put him in a lot of different places. And we got a couple of guys like that on offense in this class. He'll be based out of the backfield because that's where he's played. You got Robbie Washington and Ray Joseph in the slot on either side, also with elite speed. So when you put those three together in a triangle on offense together, where are you tilting the coverage? Because even if you tilt the coverage that way, any of those three guys can outrun that. And even if you don't tilt coverage or anything, and you just leave Chris Johnson in the backfield, he doesn't dance. I mean, it's funny. Like, you don't really have anybody who runs in the style of a Barry Sanders anymore. You used to have some guys who would they would look around and they would kind of dance here and there and try to find a hole. That's pretty much been legislated out of the game of football.
Yeah.
Most everybody is one cut and go. And the thing about the go with Chris Johnson is, again, it can be up the middle and gone. You remember that touchdown that Jalen Knighton had at Pittsburgh last year in 2021? Came straight through. It was like a 55-ish something. Boom, up the middle, gone. Through the middle of the defense, that's Chris Johnson. And look, don't let him find the sideline and ride, because if he gets to the sideline where you got to take an extra angle to get there, cue up the band and change the scoreboard. Like, this is another guy. And again, I already gave you 3 in this class: Robbie Washington, Ray Joseph, and now Chris Johnson out of the backfield. All 3 of those dudes are able to score from anywhere on the field at any time they're going to play offense. But if you're playing offense or return, it does not matter where they get the ball. If you blink for a second, if you take a false step as a defense, again, cue up the band and change the scoreboard and kiss the baby, because they're gone. And that element has been so lacking on this team. And before, you would have maybe one guy in a class of that ilk. This is why Miami did not recruit Joystick McKenzie out of American Heritage, because at that slot position that year, you had Braxton Berrios. Braxton Berrios, who got a second contract in the NFL. He plays on a very good team and things like that. So that was a worthy recruit. But at that time, it was, no, we're going to take one speed guy or the other. At this time, and especially with the uncapped scholarship year, Mark Cristobal said, give me all the speed guys. And that includes Chris Johnson, which is really why it's a big get that we got him.
So again, I was about to maybe size him up against somebody else, but you squashed that. I thought Dante Hall, Dexter McCluster, but those guys danced around and
Yeah, no, he's not a look. He will stretch a play either way. But if you see even the half of a crease, like a little itty bitty, that outside foot gets put in the ground and he gets up that field. And all three of those dudes, it only takes them 2 steps to get to top speed. And his top speed is literal, championship on the track, top speed. Hey, man, that's what I'm talking about. You need a variety of guys on the team. You're going to need a bigger running back. You're going to need, the Trevante Citizen 6'1", 220. You're going to need that. But you also need the 5'11", 180 who can absolutely fly. And that's what we got in Chris Johnson.
Super sticker, Falcon Rex. We appreciate you being here, sir. Thank you so much for that.
Falcon Rex.
Our guy, Falcon Rex, coming back with a question/comment. Best commits this week. Number 1, Bain. Number 2, my daughter, Amelia. I may have to cut back on donations. Miami ain't cheap.
Hey, man. Well, congratulations to you and your daughter, Amelia. Welcome to the Hurricane family, man. In terms of going to the school and everything, I do understand. I only had a little bit of loans. I had my Mother Loves Me scholarship as well, and some academic and music performance-based scholarships. But even with the little bit that I had for that semester of student teaching, it was still more than a little. But no, that's really awesome, man. And congratulations to you and her. I know that's a big decision, a big milestone and everything. So that's really awesome to see.
Well, we're still on the traditional recruiting path and discussion headed toward next Wednesday with 23 hard commits. Where do we expect that number to land, and who else is out there that are probables or possibilities?
Well, you have a variety of answers here. There are a couple few transfers. So the Cohen dude, offensive lineman from Alabama, seems to really be interested in coming to Miami. So I saw even Gabby Rudy, I think, put a crystal ball for his decision to pick Miami. So that's one. Francis Mauigoa's brother, Francisco, is a transfer linebacker from Washington State who has visited. And I believe he will probably end up here. Devontae Brown is the son of Selwyn Brown, 2-time national championship player at Miami, and someone I worked with for 11 years at Miramar High School. He went to UCF, but is leaving UCF, and he is debating coming to Miami, as is his younger brother, Damari Brown, who was a current 2023 recruit. So you can get the 2022 kid who went elsewhere and his 2023 brother, the Brown brothers. And then the Mauigoa brother, the middle brother, because there's an older one, who's out of college and everything. And then Cohen. You can have probably a couple other dudes as well in the transfer world. But I said all that to bury the lead and make you wait. But the big one that is upcoming is tomorrow's announcement from 5-star offensive lineman Samson Okunlola from Brockington, Massachusetts. I don't know that I need to say anything else other than 5-star offensive lineman, but he is a tackle prospect, one of the top probably 4, I want to say, along with Francis Mauigoa and Caden Proctor, who's committed to Iowa right now, who's a freak. Oh, my goodness. Wow. That's a kid. I mean, we're not going to get him, and I'm happy with who we have and could potentially get. But Caden Proctor is kind of that dude. Anyways, Samson Okunlola is committing to a school tomorrow. Everything seems to be trending towards Miami. He did take an official visit to Florida this past weekend. And they're obvious. Those are the two finalists, the Gators and the Hurricanes. Cristobal and Mirabal and probably a couple other coaches went and had an in-home visit with Okunlola yesterday. I believe that was the last visit of any coaches that he had prior to tomorrow's announcement, which is during the afternoon, I believe. So I will be around for that and everything. But yeah, all signs are trending towards him picking Miami, and that would be, again, yet another big get, and even a little bit bigger than it might have previously been, because, today, John Campbell, this year's starting left tackle, he announced his intention to transfer. So where is it? There. So yeah, I mean, I know you're probably going to have Zion Nelson back next year, along with whomever you add in this recruiting class, like Mauigoa, like Okunlola, at tackle specifically. But yeah, Campbell is, as of this morning, leaving the program. So now, even though you always wanted to have multiple tackles in this class for the present and the future, now you have even more of a need than you already needed with Campbell departing. So Okunlola is committing tomorrow at 4 p.m. But yeah, I do believe that is going to, from all signs, that is going to end up being a pick for Miami. And that is just, again, massive, massive recruiting. I think I would be fine with either dude between Mauigoa and Okunlola playing on either side. If it were me, I would put Mauigoa at left tackle and Okunlola at right tackle. And that's no slight to Okunlola. I just think that he profiles better over there, personally. But yeah, he could absolutely play the left tackle spot. But yeah, this is, again, a 5-star talent that would be a huge recruiting win for Miami. He is listed at 6'5", 305. Hey, there you go. From Thayer Academy in Braintree, Massachusetts. I believe that Okunlola is the highest rated recruit in the history of recruit ratings for a player from Massachusetts. So yeah, that'll work. And that's the one that you're really looking at moving forward. And that will definitely move Miami up. And to Falcon Rex's question, Miami hit the top 5 recruiting class. How soon do they take away stars, put us down? Is the hate real? Miami's going to be, I think, again, when Okunlola commits to Miami tomorrow, even further in the top 5. There is a ratings adjustment coming up around the All-American games in January. But I am hopeful that the ridiculous course corrections or ratings changes to Miami recruits changes or ceases to happen moving forward. And, I hope to see that under the new direction of a good friend of mine, Andrew Ivins, is now the director of scouting for 247. So he's worked his way up from just, kind of beat recruiting reporter and everything. And he's now 247's national director of scouting. And he's a guy that I've, spent a lot of time shoulder to shoulder at events with, talking about, the theory of rankings and, like the art, because it's art, not a science, of, player evaluations and things like that. And I think hopefully some of these things where you see, somebody commits to Miami and then immediately has the rankings drop, hopefully that ends under his direction, but we will see. And if it continues, then I'll post his phone number. No, I won't do anything like that. But yeah, hopefully those kind of things do stop happening. But I think that with Mario Cristobal, he is such a dynamic recruiter that you're not going to see them. Because I think that in the past it was, okay, it's Al Golden. And like, is he really that great of an evaluator of talent? So we can feel good dropping down the recruits that he's signing because, like, it's Al Golden, like whatever. Or, it's Manny Diaz, like, it's whatever. But like, when you have a 2-time national recruiter of the year as your head coach, with all the dudes who are recruiting on this staff as well, who have been either national recruiter of the year or the best in their conference or the best of their position across the country, it gets real hard to then go back and say, Mario Cristobal doesn't know what he's talking about in terms of player evaluation. Word? For real? I don't think so. So I think that hopefully that'll mitigate it as well.
Got some folks in the chat that are bringing up veteran wide receivers as we transfer to the transfer portal. Dante Thornton was a top 100 commit to Oregon who turned out to be a productive player there this
And
past season and expected to visit Miami. And Dorian Singer, Arizona, I saw him play a really good game. Forget who they were playing. He made some ridiculous catches. It might have been USC.
Yeah.
And Dominic Lovett is the third highest yardage total receiver in the SEC this past season from Missouri. So the latter two guys were guys that were mentioned in the chat. I see on 247 Sports from your guy Gabby that he's reported that Miami's expected to host Dante Thornton.
Yes, and that would be big. He's literally and figuratively, he's 6'5", 205, and played well in a major conference at a top team, under the former direction of Miami's current coach, and then the coach who took over as well. So yeah, getting somebody like a Dante Thornton, that would be real nice. And if you remember, Miami went over the portal in terms of, receivers of consequence last year. So adding somebody like that at the top of the, receiver room would be really a great job. Dorian Singer said that he had an offer from Miami, but Gabby and a couple other guys, after checking around, they were like, Miami's not offered him. That's what I heard from Miami. So take that as you will. I'm not saying that Miami might not, but as of last week, whenever he tweeted, "Hey, I got an offer from Miami," multiple people were like, "No, you got a call from Miami, maybe, but not that." So, but yeah, those guys are potential. Well, I would say Thornton is the potential. Singer, maybe the possible on the further outskirts of the radar right now. And there's sure to be others, and there's going to be plenty of other dudes who leave this roster as well. As it look, I'm sorry, I'm looking over at my previously written list of potential transfers. So, I think I was like 70% accurate. I only had to add five dudes that I didn't previously consider as transferring. But yeah, and then the one that actually just happened today or yesterday was Kamari Rogers, the high school All-American cornerback from Mississippi who tore up his knee as a senior, the one whose daddy was Breaking Bad online and everything. Because of his daddy, the player left, and now he is announced today his transfer to Mississippi State, which is very close to home in Mississippi. So he's doing that. But and it's funny because his dad is blocking everybody associated with Miami on Twitter. And I'm like, bro, you came on here talking greasy. Nobody came at you like that. And it's funny, or whatever. But hey, live your life. I wish. And, it's a shame because the dad is a big Miami fan. So the kid grew up as a Miami fan. He said openly, I'm a Miami fan because of my dad. Me going here is living my dream. That's my dream school because I want to go, to school that I learned to love from my father. And then it goes so sideways because his dad is running his mouth, So, I mean, I honestly feel badly for the kid and everything. But, moving forward, I do wish him the best. And everybody who's transferring or, anything. I don't harbor any ill will towards any of these players. Might I have wished that they played football a little bit better when they were here at Miami? Absolutely. But as people, I don't know them people. So I will wish them the best. I hope it works out. And if it does, great. If it does not, it won't be because I'm rooting against them.
Falcon Rex is here rooting for us with the double 305. Does Miami have a Star Trek style transporter to the portal to complete the roster?
Beam me up, Scotty. Yeah, they're gonna have to. I mean, somebody asked me with the 17 now players who have transferred out and the departing seniors, they have about 38, 40 spots for incoming players this year. And that's correct, give or take a couple, because that extra year for COVID it muddies the waters. You know what I mean? Like Al Blades Jr. has another year, but Al Blades Jr. also had the medical, the heart issue a couple years ago. You know what I mean? But like, there's just dudes who like, I thought like who's the one? Jordan Miller. I thought he was out of eligibility. I really honestly did. But you get that extra COVID year, and then he transfers. So, like, I thought he was a senior, but then it's like that. So, like, some of those things, and like some of those guys can stay on the roster too, you know? So it's like a little bit muddy. But I mean, you're talking north of 35 new players probably coming to the roster in the world, you know, because Miami's at 23 recruits right now. If you get the two high school recruits that I mentioned in Damari Brown and Samson Okunlola, you're at 25. And if you add anybody else, you're over. And like, hey, there's a couple other dudes as well that are out there. You know, I don't think it's going to happen, but like a Mark Fletcher from American Heritage, the running back, he's trending towards Florida, but he's a guy that we're recruiting as well. There's probably other dudes out there who, like Collins Anchampong, right? Who, you know, he tore his knee up after 4 games in high school. You know, nobody's really paying attention to him because he's committed to Michigan. Bang, he flips. Right? What? Okay, and I'm sure that could probably happen with others, and I don't count anybody out because it's Mario Cristobal and staff recruiting. So I say that to say that you're going to probably be around 25 by early signing day with room to add more, and we haven't even gotten any transfers yet. So again, you're going to probably have 35 to 38, maybe pushing 40, somewhere in there, new players on this roster, and that's half your 85. And if you think back to a couple weeks ago, talking about flipping this roster over, if you do that again next year, right, within reason, that's probably 75 to 80 new players out of your 85 scholarship players in 2 years, or basically a full calendar year. So like 14 months from the time that the question was asked. You know what I mean? Like, that's how rapid this change is likely to happen. So, yeah, that's where we are.
Wednesday nights, your spot here at the Voice of College Football on our Miami channel with Cam Underwood from State of the U. Get on over to State of the U. Check out Cam's work and the rest of the staff there covering Miami athletics. And, of course, National Signing Day 1 week from right now. Couple names dropped in the chat. I don't know if these are valid flip potentials, but as you just stated, anything is a potential flip. And these are 2 high-end guys, top 50 players, Damon Wilson, the edge rusher from Venice High School, and also Dante Moore, the quarterback.
Dante Moore, I don't think is coming here. I don't think that we're on him like that. I know he did take a visit to UCLA recently. They're the team that's really trying to push and have him be the immediate successor to Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR. So I think that is the team to look for in terms of Dante Moore more than Miami. And the Wilson kid, I think he's going to go to O State as an edge rusher from Venice, which is right up the road a little bit. It's not South Florida, but I mean, it's not far away. But I think Miami had traction there earlier for a little bit. And I think that the performance on the field and a couple of those successive really bad losses really kind of eroded the tenuous foothold that Miami had cultivated at that time. But I mean, hey, I openly invite either or both of those gentlemen to prove me wrong, because they're both 5 stars. Like Dante Moore is, I think in the new rankings update on 247, he's number 3 overall nationally. He's behind, or 4. So it's like Arch Manning, he's 3? So it's Arch Manning, Malachi Nelson, and then him? Or Maliava? No. It's Arch Manning, Nico Iamaliava, and then Moore. 1, yes. 2, and 3. So like, yeah, you know, and those are, if you remember way back, you know, when this year started, this recruiting year, you know, we were really talking about Nico Iamaliava versus Dante Moore. I would still take Iamaliava because he's, you know, 6'6" with bounce and athleticism. But, you know, getting a kid from Detroit, you know, shout out to Detroit Martin Luther King High School, would not be a bad move. But I just don't think that either one of those guys is coming to Miami. But again, when you have a 5-star edge rusher at 6'5", 230, and a dynamic dual threat quarterback who's, you know, ranked 3rd overall in America, openly prove me wrong. There's housing in the University Village. There's that new dorm. I don't even know what it's called. The sustainable dorm in the middle of campus. There's apartments right around you. Hey, you can go down to Ludlam Point. Shout out to all my friends who lived at Ludlam Point in college, right off the 67th. Hey, look, we will make it work if either or both of those guys want to come down here. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, and just since you are consistent with this theme, you will be wishing the best for one Damon Wilson at Ohio State.
I mean, I won't be rooting for him to get injured,
Okay.
you know? And I mean, look, if he wants to do numbers every week, except for, you know, when they play Michigan, he can even do numbers against Michigan and lose. That's fine. Sure. Go ahead. Vaya con Dios. Look, I enjoy Chris Spielman for the Detroit Lions, number 54 middle linebacker. And I was a big fan of his before I understood as a youth that like college leads to the pros, and like he plays for the pro team I like, but he went to the college that I don't, you know, things like that. So, I mean, yeah, sure. If he ends up going there, you know, with like Brandon Ennis from American Heritage, who, you know, Miami's taking their best shot at getting, but the 5-star wide receiver, but that's probably not going to happen either. Hey, don't get injured, do well, lose to Michigan, go to the league.
All right, folks. Anything else you got in the chat here? Covered recruiting, transfer portal. Dem here is confident that Brandon Ennis will flip.
I do not share that optimism at all. Again, like Damon Wilson, I think that if there was a chance, like sometimes the on-field result actually or really, really matters, you know? And I think for both of those dudes, the on-field results this year needed to be better. And Rob Dukes, I think it's more 70-30 for Fletcher with Florida in front. But, you know, hey, everybody thought that Cormani McClain was going somewhere else. And he was just like, real quick at his announcement, if I don't remember if I said it then, but he did it so fast at his announcement that they had him do it again because like the cameras and everything weren't even ready for him to be like, cool, yeah, 3 to 4 years, I'm going to Miami, what's up? They're like, whoa, hey, you know, so, I mean, surprises have happened. Surprises can happen. I would even go so far as to think that positive surprises for Miami will happen. I just don't know exactly who. Also, well, first of all, thank you, Uncle Joey 99, for the compliment. I would be remiss if I did not say that Connor Lew, a 3-star offensive lineman from Georgia, flipped his commitment from Miami to Auburn the other day. And that is mainly because he wants to be a pilot, and they have a very strong aviation program. And he said in his decommitment note, like, it more aligns with my future goals. Like, yeah, you have one of the top aviation programs at like a Power 5 school. I mean, it's not like Embry-Riddle or something, you know, that's an aviation specific school, but you have a top aviation program at a school that you want to go to, and you desire to work in the field of aviation as a pilot, you know, moving forward. Yeah, that's what the aligning with future goals, you know, was. And hey, wish him the best going over there. You know, I really won't have to see him because we're not playing Auburn or anything. Would I prefer to have him in the class? Sure, but we got, you know, a couple other dudes like Antonio Tripp who can play interior line and maybe even slide over there. You know, maybe you get another transfer or something. But yeah, no, I don't have any ill will. And if that's a better place for you, then I want you to go. You know, we're going to be happy and set you up for the career and the trajectory path that you want to be on. So, you know, all the best to Connor Lew. But yeah, he flipped the other day.
And this individual did not know until a couple of weeks before National Signing Day that Auburn had one of the top aviation programs in the country. Seems kind of odd.
I mean, I don't know.
Uncle Joey, I too appreciate the compliment. I just find it amusing. So you could just say Mark and Cam, and I would know, and I think everyone else would know who we're talking about without misspelling my name in 2 different ways.
Look, man, some people have 2 names. Like when I worked at Interlochen Arts Camp, there was a camper, a trumpet player, very, very good trumpet player, whose name was Dave Matthews. Swear to God. So every time we saw him around the division, hey, Dave Matthews, and he would say, he's like, bro, can you just call me Dave? I was like, no, you got a 2-name name, bro. Like every time I see you, I'm going to say, hey, Dave Matthews. Because like Dave Matthews is just one of those things. So yeah, but I mean, if you're going to do that, maybe so.
I did have a boss who told me that one time because he always said Mark Rogers. You go, Mark Rogers, and he'd explain to the room, Mark Rogers is doing this or whatever. And I told him one time, I asked him one time, I said, why do you always, we know I'm the only Mark in the room. And he's like, it just rolls off my tongue that way.
Yeah, exactly. It goes like that.
We've got Hood Motivation Studios, DJ, KOB. It's a mouthful. Cam, who do you feel can make an impact coming in this class right away?
I mean, I will let you, valued viewer, define impact as you will. So Hood Motivation, I don't know exactly what you mean, but I'm going to go on a limb. Let's say Wesley Besainth or better. So eventual starting or like decent rotation snaps or better as a freshman. Fair? Cormani McLean, Francis Mauigoa, Reuben Bain. Depending on how he does, Jaden Wayne, but I think, yeah, Malik Bryant, Riley Williams, Nathaniel Joseph, Robbie Washington, Chris Johnson, Robert Stafford, or, he's a defensive back, so, he could. We're going to need corners. Joshua Horton on the interior defensive line because we're going to need rotation dudes there. And then extrapolating out, like if he comes here, Samson Okunlola, so 40, 50% of this class, there's snaps to be had. And like this group of dudes is coming in for jobs. Like they're coming to snatch playing time. And I think several of them are going to be successful with that. So, you could out of the 23 current commits, I could easily see 9 or 10 having an impact. Now, it won't all be the same. I'm not saying all of them are going to be freshman All-American or player of the year or anything like that. But impacting games and, playing at least rotational snaps or better. Yeah, you could easily see that. Now, I don't know that all of them will, especially when you have redundancy, because Ray Joseph and Robbie Washington are more or less the same player. Robbie Washington's 5'10" and a half, and Ray Joseph is 5'8". But they're pretty much the same player, to the point where, spoiler alert, the Miami Outlook section of the recruiting notebooks that I'm cultivating to post on next week when they sign, I actually copied the one for both Ray Joseph and Robbie Washington because they're the same kid. Like one is 2 inches shorter and 15 pounds lighter, but like they're the same player. So it could reasonably happen then that one of those dudes fills that role and the other one doesn't. But having potential to do it right now, yeah, I would say damn near half of this class, I think, are going to have quote unquote an impact. And you can debate amongst yourselves what impact means towards the team next year.
In a typical year, how many of these recruiting notebooks do you produce in anticipation that Miami's going to sign, its typical 22, 23 players?
However many they have signed, 22, 23.
Oh, okay. I thought that you were preparing these in advance.
I am. I'm writing them now because I'm not like these. Like I have one open right now because I was writing it. It's 1,300 words.
So my question is basically if there are other players that you produce a notebook for, but they may flip and not, so you overproduce.
I have overproduced. Yeah, absolutely. If I'm producing for, in the past, especially like with Golden and with Diaz. Well, yeah. Golden and Diaz more than Richt, but even the Richt years, I would have, extra or other ones ready. And then I also had the newser that was insert player here, Spurns Miami commits to other school instead. But yeah, no, these are definitely a labor of love for everybody because they take a little bit, to go through and, go through all the sections and be sure that my information is correct. I'm watching film to, give my take on things and trying to find other evaluations and, talk to people about them, and everything. And there's definitely, time and effort that goes into those. So, but yeah, I mean, there have been years where I have produced them and then the player does not end up coming to Miami, unfortunately for me. But yeah, no, there's a lot, but hey, it's something that I enjoy doing. And I know that, you guys enjoy me bringing the content to you and everything. So yeah. So Kylo Ren, his point, Robbie is better straight line speed. Ray is more shifty. Okay. But if you watch the film, Robbie is also shifty, not as shifty. And Ray is fast in the straight line, but maybe not as fast. So it's not like they only have one of those traits. It's maybe just the leveling of those traits. But that is a well-met point. Yes, I will agree. Robbie is probably better in straight line and Ray more with the dancing. To the previous question, it was Mohammed, I believe it was, about do any freshmen start? Yeah, absolutely. I think that you're going to have starters. I think you're probably going to have multiple starters from this group. Number one, Cormani, he's starting. I mean, it might take a minute, but a minute during camp, but he's starting. Probably Mawagoa or Okunlola, especially with Zion coming back. I would expect that. You could definitely have, at linebacker, like put Malik Bryant next to Wesley Basainth, let it cook, kiss the baby. Robert Stafford at corner as well. It has a chance to start, maybe one of the slot dudes, but, Restrepo is not as explosive as these dudes, but Restrepo is a technician. He's a gamer. He is somebody with very good hands, runs good routes, more explosive than you think, but not as explosive as these dudes. And definitely a value add, especially if Tyler comes back, because those two are roommates and Tyler has the sonar, radar, we're 7 here. Like, there you go, so maybe not 100% starting. I don't know that there's anybody else of the current group who starts. Because like at tight end, you got Elijah Arroyo and Jaleel Skinner. So Riley Williams could play rotationally, but I don't know that he starts. Reuben Bain and Jaden Wayne are very, very good on edge, but I don't know that they start. You got Akeem Mesidor and then Nigel Kelly coming back. I don't know that any of the freshmen displace them in starting, but they can definitely be, Nigel Kelly-like in their usage and, the snaps that they play. Because if I open up this other thing that I have open, the super secret document, and I scroll down in the super secret document, it shows me that Nigel Kelly played 129 snaps across this season. So, can you have that from these guys? Sure. But yeah, in terms of like day one starters, I think Cormani McClain 100%. At least one of the offensive tackles, and then maybe sprinkle in some other dudes for ability, or like if they run, 5 wide or 4 wide, maybe you have 2 slots start. So you have Restrepo and Ray / Robbie Wash, like things like that. But even if you only have a couple starters this current year, I think that the impact question, again, you're going to see plenty of these freshmen hit the field.
I am hurriedly searching for Miami's defensive rank last season. I'm not coming up with it, but I will.
I can tell you because that's also on the super secret document. I'm
going to guess 57.
In terms of what?
Total defense.
Oh, That's easy to find. CFBstats.com.
That's where I am.
Oh, national and then totaled. Yeah, it's
Well,
a
yeah.
top thing.
Oh, they're 66. I found it. I was, as you scan a long list like that, I was just looking for the
you got to find
the small words because Miami's a small word, but they had Miami, Florida, so I missed it. 66.
So 66 and 66 and 101st in yards per play, which I think is more indicative. Because total yardage, cool. But like it on a per play basis, 101, which, is one slot better than the University of Florida. Yeah, exactly. And they didn't have anybody's great defense. I mean, other teams around them, Indiana, Oregon, who definitely gave up a bunch of yards, Northern Illinois, Kansas, Houston, BYU, Akron, it wasn't great. So, 66 in total defense, but 101st in yards per play allowed. And, if you're talking about some of these other things, not necessarily great.
I went to the stats because there's a comment here that I've lost track of, but somebody had predicted next year's defense is going to be violent.
I would appreciate that. I would also appreciate them to be scheme sound, as well. Is the super secret document written on the back of the declaration? No, it's not, because it's on my computer. So there is that. Also, just wanted to let you know, Barry Jackson reported through his NIL agent, James Williams, had a torn labrum in his left shoulder this season and has undergone successful surgery to repair that. So he should be ready for fall camp. So do not expect to see him in the spring because he just had shoulder surgery and everything. But I saw some people bandying about, maybe that was some of his tackling issues were the shoulder issue because, if you have the labrum, then you can't move it in certain ways and wrap up and things like that. And that could have impacted his tackling ability. But so just wanted to share that as well. And obviously wish him a safe recovery and full, it was a successful surgery. So that's good. And, just hope a full return to his athletic, or just full health moving forward.
My follow-up to the analysis of a defense that ranks 66th in the nation, and again, the more meaningful stat, number 101 out of 131, I'm going to put it in 4 categories, and you assess blame as to talent, development of that talent, scheme, and effort.
That's a good question. The most impactful thing to me would have to be the scheme, just because the secondary, the back 7 and the front 4 weren't aligned. They were not in sync. Number 2 is development. Number 3 is effort. Number 4 is talent, because there's more talent than a little bit. I mean, you've already had multiple, blue chip guys leave this roster, which means that they were on this roster. Guys like Avante Williams was the number 2 overall safety in America his year. The Rogers kid was a blue chipper. Dunson was a blue chipper on defense. For, better or worse, Al Blaze was a blue chipper. Now, he should have been a safety and not a corner, but whatever. But he was a blue chipper. Frierson was a blue chipper. Harrell was a blue chipper. Roberts. Daryl Jackson. I mean, hello. You got, and then you add in like the Mitchell Goods of the world and things like that. Like, there was plenty of talent. There's plenty of talent. But yeah, I would say in that order would be my look at things. Because if you develop the talent, they don't have the mental errors that they had in droves this year that led to all kinds of stuff. So yeah,
good stuff. Okay, every Wednesday, folks, this is what you get. Cam delivers right here at the Voice for College Football. It's what he does.
It's what I do. So who said that? Obama during COVID after he hit that jumper in the corner. It's what I do. It's what I do. As he hit that lefty jumper and then was leaving out of the gym and whatnot. But yeah, no, I definitely appreciate you guys, listening and watching and sharing and everything. So yeah, I mean, hit the like button, please. Like and subscribe. Come on back next week. We'll definitely talk about all the movement that has happened in the last 7 days, including hopefully Samson Okunlola, who I do believe is going to commit to Miami tomorrow. But either way, come be a fan with us. Come on over, fan with us at stateoftheu.com, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The State of the U. My personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports. I'm currently watching a bunch of different things. Some things I tweet about during the day, some things I tweet about late at night. Nothing not safe for work or anything, but I like to watch these things. I'm a night owl, so I stay up late. So certain things I'm like, hey, I know that y'all don't want me clogging your timelines with it during the middle of the day, so I'll watch it at 2 a.m. as opposed to 2 p.m. Things like that. But pretty much from here till next week, I'm in the lab finishing all these notebooks and putting up all the other stuff for signing day. So there is that. And just as a last thing before I get out of here, I know that some of you guys did see this. Yesterday was the 17-year anniversary of my father dying by suicide. And then, so there was just that. And I did see a bunch of you, including Mark, reaching out to me. And I do appreciate that. I was not looking for, sympathy or like, oh my God, sorry for you. It's just like, it feels like it was yesterday, but it was 17 years ago. And so again, my pinned tweet is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. There are people here for you. So please, just reach out if you need that help. There was a very famous DJ from the Ellen Show Twitch, who was, I first encountered him on Dancing with, So You Think You Can Dance years ago. He died by suicide last night at the age of 40, which is sobering for me at 41 years old. So a very contemporary person to my own self. So that brought that back. And then lastly, and definitely not least, rest in peace to Mike Leach, the former coach of Mississippi State and Washington State and Texas Tech. Had a massive heart attack and went to the hospital and unfortunately passed away as well at the age of 61. So, for all those, things, just want to, offer my thoughts and prayers and everything. And Mark has it up there, just there are people there for you and you matter and your mental health matters and everything. So you do not have to go through anything by yourself. And this is the same thing that we talked about. The reason that I initially started this tweet and shared my story of dealing with my own depression through dealing with my father's, death by suicide and things like that was after Robin Williams died by suicide. And, Robin Williams had this larger than life personality. He was always smiling. He was making people happy, but sometimes the happiest people are fighting the darkest demons inside. And same thing was with Twitch. He just celebrated his 3 or 4 year anniversary with his wife. They have 2 beautiful children together and everything, and always had this big smile. I mean, if you're somebody, I never really watched the Ellen Show, but like he got on there as the DJ and everything and had this huge following and everything. And he's this very happy dude. And I remember even from when I saw him on, different things and commercials, like he just was this very, very positive person, but that was the outward facing thing. And inside, obviously, he was dealing with some things. So you do not have to deal with those alone. And you do matter. And again, to Twitch, we say rest in peace, and to Mike Leach, and then also to my father, Sean Underwood, gone but not forgotten. And, if you are dealing with something, hopefully you can find the help that you need so that the people who are here can continue to support you.
Thank you so much for that good word, Cam, that everyone needs to hear, because you never know when you may be in a bad place. It may feel as though you could never be in that kind of place. And lo and behold, because of circumstances, because of life changes, just because of just chemistry within your body that changes in your brain, you may find yourself in a place of need where you never imagined you could possibly be at some point, or a friend or a family member or a loved one. So,
yeah.
Right, Cam.
So, do we have that? We'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Thank you, man.